Just 2 hours after I dropped my 3-year-old son in my sister's house for holidays, I got a call that his 2 kidneys have been sold. How it all began. It was a bright afternoon when Miriam's 3-year-old son, Samuel, bounced excitedly around their small living room. The television played softly in the background, but Samuel wasn't paying attention. He was too busy showing Miriam his new toy car. Suddenly, Miriam's phone buzzed. It was a message from her sister, Naoma. "I'm coming to take Samuel for a holiday." Miriam frowned. She had never heard her sister ask to take Samuel anywhere before, not once. When the doorbell rang a few hours later, Miriam opened the door and saw Naoma standing there, smiling politely, but something about that smile didn't feel right. "Naoma, you really want to take Samuel?" Miriam asked cautiously. "You know his father wouldn't agree. He doesn't like Samuel being away from home." Naoma's smile widened, but her eyes were sharper than Miriam noticed. "Sister, am I a stranger to you? Junior needs someone to play with, just for 2 weeks. Once school starts, I'll bring him back." She bent down to Samuel's level, laughing and playing with him, brushing his hair from his eyes. "And don't worry about your husband. By the time he comes back from his trip, Samuel will already be home." Samuel's face lit up. "Mommy, please, let me go. I want to play with Junior." Miriam hesitated for just a moment, watching Samuel's excitement. Her sister's gaze lingered on him in a way that made her stomach twist, but she pushed the thought aside. After all, Samuel was happy. She packed his clothes, kissed him goodbye, and handed him to Naoma. As soon as they were on the bus, Naoma's phone buzzed. She answered quickly. "Honey, I tricked Miriam. Samuel is coming with us. We're heading straight to the hospital." Her husband's voice came through, calm but focused. "All right, I'm bringing Junior too." Back home, Miriam couldn't shake the unease in her chest. Something felt off, though she didn't know what. Her heart raced for no reason. She decided to go to church, hoping prayer would ease the strange fear gnawing at her. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Naoma and her husband were already in motion. "Doctor, this boy is a perfect match for our son's transplant," Naoma said, handing over Samuel. "We need this done immediately." The doctor adjusted his glasses. "This is extremely risky. He's a minor. We need parental consent." Her husband didn't hesitate. He opened a bag, letting stacks of cash spill onto the table. "Do it. I'll pay whatever you want. Our son's life is more important than anything." The doctor looked at the innocent little boy sitting on the hospital bed, swinging his legs and holding his toy car. Samuel smiled, unaware of the danger surrounding him. "Please, doctor, take his kidneys," Naoma urged. "I don't care what happens. He has other children." The doctor sighed, conflicted, then nodded slowly. "All right, let's get started." Samuel was sedated and laid down on the surgical bed. As the doctor prepared his instruments, Miriam knelt in her church pew, her prayers interrupted by an unshakable sense of dread. Just as the doctor lifted the surgical knife, a nurse, who had been watching silently nearby, noticed something was wrong. Her heart ached as she realized what was happening. Quietly, she approached Samuel. "Hello, brave boy," she whispered. "Can you tell me your mommy's phone number?" Samuel nodded obediently. The nurse dialed Miriam immediately. "Ma'am, your son is in danger. Your sister is trying to take his kidneys," she shouted into the phone. Miriam's knees buckled. "What? How is that possible?" "Please hurry. The doctor is about to operate." Without a second thought, Miriam grabbed her bag and ran out of the church, calling her husband but reaching only voicemail. She jumped into a taxi and yelled at the driver to rush to Forever Hospital. Back at the hospital, Naoma's plan was almost complete. "Soon, Junior will be fine. Samuel, he doesn't matter," she said coldly. But the nurse had a plan. She waited until the doctor stepped out, then carefully lifted Samuel in her arms. Quietly, she slipped out the door and into the night, the boy clutching his toy car. Outside, the bushes were dark and thick, and the air was cold. Every sound made her heart jump. She knew the men sent by Neoma and the doctor were chasing them. She ran, Samuel tightly pressed to her chest. The little boy began to cry, and the nurse's legs ached, but she didn't stop. Just ahead, she saw a flicker of headlights, a police patrol parked by the roadside. "Help, please!" she screamed, waving her arms. The officers jumped out, and the men following them froze. 2 were quickly caught. 1 disappeared into the darkness. Miriam burst into the hospital moments later, her body trembling, her heart racing. "Samuel! Samuel! Mommy!" Samuel shouted, his small arms wrapping around her neck. Tears streamed down Miriam's face as she held him close. Thank God, you're safe." Police quickly arrested the doctor, Neoma, and her husband. Their plan had failed. Neoma fell to her knees, sobbing. "Please, forgive me. I just wanted to save Junior." Miriam looked at her sister with eyes full of hurt and disbelief. "You tried to kill my son? To save your own? You are no longer my sister." Months later, Miriam sat quietly in her home, holding Samuel in her arms as he slept peacefully. She couldn't stop thinking about how close they had come to losing him. Her heart still throbbed at the memory. She had learned a terrifying truth that day. Sometimes, the ones who should protect you are the ones capable of the greatest harm. And sometimes, your enemies are not strangers at all. After the terrifying night at Forever Hospital, Miriam could hardly sleep. Samuel was safe in her arms, but every time she closed her eyes, she saw her sister's cold smile and remembered the fear in her little boy's eyes. The world she had trusted so blindly had cracked, and she didn't know if she would ever look at her family the same way again. The next morning, Samuel clung to her, still holding his toy car. His innocent laughter was like a balm to her frayed nerves. But Miriam knew the danger wasn't fully gone. Neoma and her husband were in police custody, but there were questions to answer and lives to reckon with. At the police station, the officers carefully recorded every detail of what had happened. Miriam recounted everything: the message, the bus ride, the trip to the hospital, and how she felt something was wrong before she left for church. The nurse who had saved Samuel gave her full testimony as well, explaining how she had overheard Neoma and her husband and how she had taken action to save the boy's life. The authorities were shocked. Organ trafficking, especially involving children, was a serious crime, and this case had narrowly been prevented from turning into a tragedy. Miriam was questioned about her other children, and Samuel sat quietly, sensing the tension but too young to fully understand. Meanwhile, Neoma and her husband were in a small, cold cell. For the first time, fear replaced their false sense of control. "Why did the nurse interfere?" Neoma's husband muttered angrily. "It doesn't matter," Neoma whispered, her voice trembling. "We have bigger problems now. Miriam knows everything. The police have witnesses. We're done for." The weight of their actions finally began to settle on them. The realization that greed and selfishness had almost cost an innocent child his life made them shiver. In the courtroom, Miriam sat with Samuel on her lap. Her husband, calm and strong, held her hand. The trial began with the chilling testimony of the doctor, who confessed that he had been offered money to perform the operation. He explained how he had almost gone through with it before the nurse's interference. Neoma tried to defend herself, her voice shaking. "I only wanted to save my son. I didn't mean for anyone to get hurt. Please forgive me." Miriam looked at her, her eyes filled with pain and disappointment. "Save your son? By trying to kill mine? You have no right to call yourself my sister anymore." The judge listened carefully to every word. He could see the manipulation, greed, and danger that had almost led to the death of a little boy. After reviewing the evidence, the judge delivered the verdict. The actions of the defendants show a clear intent to endanger a child's life for personal gain. This court finds Neoma and her husband guilty of attempted murder and conspiracy to commit organ trafficking. The doctor is also found guilty of participating in a criminal act. All three are hereby sentenced to many years in prison. The courtroom was silent. Miriam hugged Samuel tightly, whispering prayers of gratitude. Justice had been served, but the pain of betrayal lingered. Life slowly returned to normal for Miriam and her family, but the memory of what had happened stayed with her. She became more protective of her children, making sure they were always safe and never out of her sight for long. Samuel, too young to fully understand, sensed his mother's love and worry and clung to her even more. The doctor and the nurse faced their consequences as well. The doctor's career was over, and he would spend years paying for his choices. The nurse, however, became a hero. Her courage and quick thinking had saved a life, and she was commended by both the authorities and Miriam's family. Even though justice had been served, the tragedy of Neoma and her husband's choices left a scar. Their son, Junior, had never received a kidney in time. Despite all the plans and money, he passed away because the right match could not be found quickly enough. It was a painful reminder that greed and selfishness often hurt more than just the intended target. They leave destruction all around. Miriam, holding Samuel in her arms one quiet evening, reflected on what had happened. She knew she could never let herself be blinded by trust in family alone. Sometimes, people we think we know best can surprise us with the worst intentions. But she also learned the power of courage, quick thinking, and selflessness. Samuel, unaware of how close he had come to death, smiled in his sleep, clutching his toy car. Miriam kissed his forehead softly. "You're safe now, my little one," she whispered. "You're safe." Moral lessons. 1. Trust must be earned, even with family. Love and blood ties do not guarantee safety. Always stay vigilant, especially when it involves your loved one's well-being. 2. Selfishness and greed have consequences. Neoma and her husband thought their son's life justified harming another, but their actions led to tragedy, loss, and imprisonment. Greed never rewards. 3. Courage and quick thinking save lives. The nurse's bravery prevented an unimaginable tragedy. One act of courage can change everything. 4. The safety of children is paramount. Even small warning signs should never be ignored. Miriam's instincts helped her seek help in time, proving that intuition matters. 5. Actions affect more than just yourself. Neoma tried to protect her child by harming another, but the ripple effects of her actions destroyed more than she realized. Our choices impact everyone around us. In the end, Miriam and Samuel continued their life, grateful for every ordinary day together. The nightmare was over, but the memory would remain a reminder. Sometimes the most dangerous people are not strangers, they are the ones you call family. The sun rose, casting a warm light through Miriam's window. Samuel laughed as he ran across the room, safe, alive, and loved something no money or selfish plan could ever take away.